Welcome to Truth Sentinel, watching over the truth in the news. Welcome everyone, hope you're well. I can see we've already got Bob in the chat there. I hope a few more people will come soon, and keep your comments coming in on the chat so that we can talk about what you want to talk about. I'll do a preamble and then Seth will come and join us in a while. My preamble, I'll just look at just very quickly look at some stories that have caught my eye on the BBC. As usual, not planned heavily. We'll just look at the BBC website mostly. I did check CNN earlier, but it was pretty much the same thing. You know what mainstream media are like. Just going to have a sip of my tea because I think that's vitally important for this kind of show. We like to be relaxed, not too serious. You don't see the BBC drinking tea during their presentations. I think it would make a lot of difference. I'd certainly trust them more. That's pretty good. Okay, first of all, the Truth Sentinel cat. Let's just give you an update on the Truth Sentinel cat. I know some of you have been worried about his health. And of course, now it's a he. When we started introducing you to the cat, it was a she, but I'd misgendered it. Well, then the cat had bowel issues, but is feeling better now. Had some of his fur shaved off, and I had to give him a new type of biscuit that the vet gave me, and he rejected them and actually ate a Tokai lizard in front of me in protest, I think. This lizard was almost the same size as him. He got it by the throat and killed it in front of me. And also rejected the medicine I tried to give him. I think he's also has a big distrust of pharmaceuticals. Anyway, let's start off. I think from time to time, we should start off by just looking at who funds the BBC before we look at some of the stories that they're putting out at the moment. Okay, so where does the BBC's money come from? Let's have a look. Okay, USA Aid, NORAD, the military organization, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I think this is something to do with all the pharma stories and the vaccine stories that we see on the BBC website. Of course, we love the vaccines here at Truth Sentinel. Global Affairs Canada, United Nations, who are also linked to the World Economic Forum, UK Department for International Development, Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That's a bit of a strange one. I don't understand what they're doing funding the BBC. UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office, which is basically the government. Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. Look out for some Swedish stories. European Union. Okay, fine. Let's have a quick look at the BBC website then. First of all, just see what their top stories are. Just going to them now. And looks like the top stories are talks are underway to broker a ceasefire in Gaza. Problems there between Israel and Palestine as usual. If you're worried about getting your food and grain this year, don't worry. A new convoy of grain is on its way. There's been a deal brokered between Russia and Ukraine. I wouldn't like to be driving that ship, to be honest, because well, someone might just blow it up anyway as a kind of, either as a false flag event or something else, because they seem to be blowing up all the food stores around the world. Whale stuck in French river gets a vitamin boost. Was the title of this story before I clicked on it. There it's whale stuck in French river to get vitamin boost. Make sure you get your vitamin boosts, just in case you get any of those nasty viruses that are going around. That's definitely hit Hawaii. The Chinese Hawaii is in lockdown. Over 80,000 tourists in the resort known as China's Hawaii have been left stranded after a terrible coronavirus outbreak sparked a lockdown. Yes, we're in the year 2022, where the common cold or similar or a flu can just wreak havoc. Can you imagine that happening 10 years ago? Someone gets a cold and everyone gets locked down and your entire 80,000 people get their holidays ruined. And you have millions in lockdown in various parts of China. And we've already experienced that or many of us have experienced that in other parts of the world. Of course, monkeypox is the new thing. And after initially thinking maybe they're not gonna to go with that, it does seem that they are going to go with that, and it's going to be a big thing. I'm keeping an eye on this document, which I think I showed you before. Let me see if I can show it to you again. It's the let me just see if I can find it first. I'm sure I opened it somewhere. There we are. Okay, I'll see if I can share this with you. It's the let me just get the title of it. The NTI, strengthening global systems to prevent and respond to high consequence biological threats. And this was the scenario document, which coincidentally, this was the scenario document that mapped out a future possible scenario of monkeypox, but coincidentally started on exactly the same day, not month, the same day as this current frightening outbreak which we're experiencing. This is the Nuclear Threat Initiative. If I have time later, I will post it under the video. I'm keeping an eye on this because if it started on the exact day, the chances are it might follow it to the letter in other parts of it, because according to this document, by Christmas 2022, this monkeypox is going to be huge. And I thought I would start off by reading just how it started according to their scenario. Let's see if I can find it. It starts off with a fictitious country name, but it kind of... Okay, here we are. Move 1, occurring on June the 5th, 2022. Now, it actually broke out. If you come back here, just to show I wasn't making this up, it actually breaks out in May the 15th, 2022. Actually, before I continue, let me just check. Let me just say hello to everyone and have another cup of tea. Just a moment. Yes, Bob, my cup does say coffee, which just proves to you cannot believe everything you see. That's a warning to everyone. Let me just say hello to people in the chat. We've got Bob, the Moonlight Poet, who you heard his music some episodes back. The screen is NLURU. What does that mean? I don't understand. The screen's blurry on the websites. Can everyone let me know? Is the screen blurry? It could just be... Could it be your internet connection or mine? Let me know if it's blurry when I share the screen. It is possible because that does use up some bandwidth. Howdy, Gormunga 2. Let me see. Screen's clear on my end, said Seth. Seth's on the side. I'm going to bring him in a while. Kieran says slightly late, but here. Well, we don't expect people to be exactly on time. The Truth Sentinel cat has just decided not to even bother turning up. Can you believe that? Sorry, I try to mute myself when I have a sip of tea. Yeah, honestly, the truth, it could be your internet connection, because other people said it's okay. Well, we'll check it in a minute. Let's check it again in a minute. Kieran says looks okay my end. Okay, I'm sharing it at the moment actually. Yeah. Okay. So honestly, the truth, if you can't see it, sorry about that, but it is. Other people can at the moment. It could be because of the bandwidth. Anyway, I'm going to read it out, so you don't need to necessarily see it anyway. So it starts off May the 15th, 2022, which was almost to the day, I would say to the day, when the first case of monkeypox broke out in our reality that we're living in at the moment. Or is it not, are we not living in reality, but we're part of a digitized virtual reality system? I'm starting to come to that conclusion. Anyway, so it starts off on May the 15th. By June the 5th, monkeypox outbreak in Brinia, this is a fictitious country, has 1,421 cases and 4 deaths. We've gone past that. No, there's no international warnings or advisories at this stage. International alert and warning systems, benefit and need for early risk assessment. Okay, then unfortunately they don't really they make major jumps. So their next part of their scenario is January the 10th, 2023, unfortunately. So, and by that time, monkeypox has been engineered to be vaccine resistant. Would you believe? There's international supply chain challenges, which we were all expecting anyway. 83 countries have been affected. This is by January the 10th. So we're August, September, October, November, January. So in 4 months, according to the scenario, we'll have 1.3 million deaths within 4 months. 83 countries affected. That's by 2023. By the end of that year, it will be 271 million deaths. I think that's quite considerable, but of course this is just a scenario document. The Bruneian government welcomes international outbreak investigations and requests medical support from the World Health Organization. Genome sequencing of monkeypox patient samples revealed that strain in Brunei contains mutations that make it resistant to existing vaccines. And it seems here that it comes out that it was manufactured in a lab again. Anyway, enough about that. I was supposed to be scanning the news, wasn't I? I got carried away there. Let's just go back to the news then and just have a quick flick through, and then I'll bring Seth in. Let's just see. Okay, by the way, please do bring your do let me know of anything that you've heard in the news over the last month. It's been a month since we last spoke. We've had the Georgia Guidestones blowing up, and we discussed that on the last episode. One thing I did want to bring up, actually, before I go back to the BBC website, was, did you see the opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Games? A lot of people say about these opening ceremonies that there's a lot of satanic rituals going on, and certainly some of them have seemed to be like that. You had the 2012 UK Olympic opening ceremony that had all the doctors and the nurses on beds and people dying, and this was before the pandemic. It was all a bit odd, and you had these kind of Illuminati type pyramid structures. Well, the Commonwealth Games in the UK also had a big opening ceremony, and a lot of people said that had some ritualistic satanic stuff going on. And I saw this giant satanic looking creature, and it's a bull. It's obviously a bull, and everyone said, oh, this is the the god Baal, and it looks demonic. It does. I mean, I don't understand what that's got to do with sport. The Commonwealth Games is a sporting event. So anyway, I just read about Baal, and just a description of Baal, because I wanted to check that Baal is a bull. So let me just read this out. I think I saved it. Oh yeah, here it is. So Baal came to be associated with a bull as his sacred animal, which would become a prominent aspect of his iconography later. He was a major deity, understood as a sky god who brought rain and was a friend of the life-giving sun. I'll show you a picture of the bull they used in the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony. It does look evil. There's no question about that. I don't know what this has got to do with sport. Let's just have a quick look. Hopefully you can see this bull and it won't be too blurry. So what do you think of that? This is supposed to be a friendly sporting event, and they will this heap of junk out. A satanic-looking bull, probably worshipping it. And it does seem that the people who organise these kind of events are in contact with the global elite, maybe, who seem to be obsessed with these kind of rituals that you might have seen at the Bohemian Grove as well. Anyway, let's go back to the news next, and then I'm gonna bring Seth in. Also, to remind you, this is a call-in show, so you're welcome to come and join us yourself later. You don't have to switch on your camera. You can just come on, make a quick comment, and then leave, and we'll discuss. Okay, back to the news. Just a second. Here we are. So let's see what else is going on. That boy that was at the centre of the UK court battle died after his life support was stopped. I always just find this weird. Doctors are upset. There's always a big court case. The doctors want to switch off the machine and kill people, and the parents want them to stay alive a bit longer. And the doctors just seem obsessed with killing people sometimes. And enough said about that, the better, I guess. We've only got 2 strikes at the moment, so hopefully we should still last. Basically, the strikes, they disappear after a certain amount of time, so I've managed to kind of stay on YouTube, but I am streaming to Facebook and our other YouTube channel. Okay, let's go back to that. So they switched his machine off, basically, so he's dead. And of course, there was the Alex Jones trial down here, the scariest part of the Alex Jones story. No matter what you think of Alex Jones, if you think he's a shill, i.e. actually paid to spread disinfo, I don't think so. I think you can't fake that amount of enthusiasm and that work rate for the last, well, I mean, if you just even look at the last 5 years, you know, doing a show every day and that kind of passion. And I don't believe he's getting paid. I think he's flawed, deeply flawed. I really I wasn't with him when he was like obsessed with Trump. But during the pandemic, he's improved. And I think what they're doing to him does seem to be a sign of what's coming. The UN just recently met, apparently, and are clamping down on conspiracies online, i.e. if you don't agree with the official narrative, they're coming after you. Anyway, so there was that court case going on. There was one interesting bit where the stupid lawyer, the prosecution lawyer, who just looks like an idiot, he said something like, you believe that there are elites who are pedophiles, part of a pedophile network. And he said, Alex Jones said, oh, you mean like the Jeffrey Epstein network? And then that's been made into a meme now. That's the thing. I also saw BBC articles were saying, oh, Alex Jones, he believes that the frogs are turning gay. and they just joke about it. But then you can literally go to Google and type in frogs changing sex, homophobic. No, sorry, not homophobic. Anyway, you know what I mean. The frogs were. There are scientific articles about the frogs turning gay, basically. Okay, let's have a look. What else has been going on? Now, should I worry about the monkeypox? A medical analyst explains. Of course, that should be a really easy answer because you shouldn't worry about anything, really. Worry is a pointless emotion. It doesn't achieve anything. President Joe Biden tests negative for COVID-19 after testing positive for the 6th time recently. And this is the guy who can still go on to YouTube and see the video where he says if you get the jibby jab, you won't actually ever catch COVID-19. And yet, so he can say that and spread misinformation, and he's fine. But other people, you say one thing wrong. I mean, Alex Jones, apparently the amount has been £54 million, $1 million in damages and other fees, I guess. Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan, and she was the most tracked of all time. And then maybe they were kind of using the tracking to set the missile systems, but she's still alive at the moment anyway. What else? I think it might be time to bring Seth in a moment. I'm just going to list some of the things rather than just showing you the BBC website. I'm going to list some of the things also that I came across. So there was the bull, Biden getting COVID again, monkeypox on the rise, Alex Jones trial, UN clamping down on conspiracies. I did notice there seems to be lots of lightning strikes around the world that are actually hitting the news. There was 2 BBC articles about lightning strikes in the US and in Latin America that just actually hit the news because they'd hit people basically. I just thought it was interesting. There's a lot of people say there's cloud seeding and weather weapons being used. There was also the TV presenter in the UK that collapsed in a live political debate. You can see that on the Truth Sentinel YouTube channel. You can watch that if you want. Anything else to add before I bring Seth in? Probably not much. I think it's time to see what Seth has been up to and see if he's come across any stories. And also, please do let us know what's come across your screens. Okay, Kieran, the judge was horrible. Yeah, the judge in the Alex Jones trial was just disgusting. I mean, horrible. Alex Jones is a honeypot meant to distract and discourage us. I disagree. I think he's flawed, but I don't think he distracts that much. Occasionally, yeah, he's distracted some people to get obsessed with politics. I just think he's a normal person and makes mistakes and believes things, and we disagree with him. I think, but he's actually interviewed some good guests, and he brings up topics that are relevant. I actually just don't think he's paid off. I don't think so. But what do you think, everyone else? Sandy hoaxes evidence he's he may have started out genuine, getting a knock on the door and they tell you Waco can happen again. Typing into Google for far too much effort, just read the MSN headlines and obey. One more thing I wanted to say about Google. In fact, let me just bring Seth in and I'll ask Seth what he thinks. Seth, you're muted at the moment. How are you?
How you doing? Here, let me
very good,
close
thanks.
the curtain. That way I don't have this awkward
very good to see you.
Lighting, let it adjust.
Looks
Got the
like
sunlight coming in
out
behind me, so yeah, it's brutal. I'm sure my lighting's about to be a lot more awkward than yours for a little while as the sun adjusts and whatnot. But the second it makes it over the hill, it'll probably not be a problem anymore.
What kind of temperatures are you getting over there?
It's been really weird. We've actually had a couple, like a week and a half of weather that was like 90s and whatnot, and then it cooled back down, started raining in like late July, and so now we're in August, and highs in the, I believe, like 80s again. So, I mean, it's not terrible. Today is supposed to be, I think, high of 90, something like that. It's pretty nice weather for the most part. It's been a decent year. Almost everywhere else in the United States, they're having some fucking ridiculous, catastrophic bullshit, at least according to the news. But from what I've seen, it's not really that bad.
There does seem to be slightly weird weather in different places. Like in China the other day, it was over 40, 45 or something. You had the big UK heat wave, which was way blown out of proportion. But do you think some of these? I do think maybe all of these cloud seeding projects that are going on around the world that no one talks about, and is a conspiracy theory. It's called it's called chemtrails, branched in with chemtrails, but it's actually
Geoengineering,
cloud
yeah,
seeding.
exactly.
Yeah, it's actually real. It's not a conspiracy. As I've said before, the Thai king actually won an award for his cloud seeding project over here in Thailand.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to one of my Chinese students, and they told me, "Oh, the government made it rain today," and they didn't even. They were just talking it as if it was just like a normal thing, for them. So there's definitely some dodgy weather going on.
Yeah, the internet like bandwidth is being kind of crappy and back and forth. We're having a little bit of choppy stuff. I noticed my video kind of cut out earlier, and your audio is having like little stutters occasionally and whatnot. So I'm gonna try and be as good as we can. But I know for a fact that the Alex Jones stuff, regardless of how you feel about the guy, it feels like has been hung out to dry. I do not think the settlement stuff is entirely set up, but I do think that Goremonger is on point with the trials is set up for arrest of dissidents. And I don't intend to ever like tuck tail or turn my back on what I've said or not continue saying it because fuck them, right? I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of these sociopaths. They're ridiculous. I don't believe in their ridiculous bullshit of Baal and the Satan and all this crap because, again, they're religious ideologues that have to create the evil monster in order to be the good guys to destroy the evil monster on either side of it because they're fucking religious ideologues, whether they be Christians, Jews, Muslims, or esoteric like Gnostics or whatever fucking bullshit that the elitists want to believe that they truly are. Like cremating my care and worshiping fucking Abraxas or some shit. I don't care. I don't care. It's not that I've cremated my care. It's that I don't have time to give a fuck about their insanity. It feels like, again, the true distraction to it all. But as far as conspiracy stuff, when we want to talk about this, there is a precedent for what happened with Alex Jones, considering that, 2019 here, Robbie Parker, the guy that literally laughs at the fucking interview there right before, like, oh, gotta get into character. I'm so sad, but my kid got murdered, man, after literally yucking it up. Not seconds before they go live, but then, oh, hey, it happens, right? You got to get into character when you're grieving over your dead kid and whatnot. So, I mean, he got awarded $150,000, I believe, wasn't it? Or is it $450,000? Oh, yeah, there we go. That's out of 2KU TV, but absolutely insane. Nobody died at Sandy Hook. Author must pay victim's dad $450,000, jury says. And now we end up with something slightly worse than that with Alex Jones. For what you started with, though, and I feel that this is very important in tying in with what we're talking about right now, so it bears mentioning. When you're talking about who funds the BBC, the very first group you brought up is USAID. Are you familiar with the organization?
USAID, no.
Yeah, USAID. Okay. George Soros is one of the big moving forces behind USAID, which is a good one to remember.
Surprise.
Yeah. But also, and this is something to remember, is USAID is the United States Agency for International Development. Sorry, democracy was what I misappropriated it, I suppose. It's an independent agency of the U.S. federal government that's primarily responsible for administering civilian foreign aid and development assistance. With a budget of over $27 billion, USAID is one of the largest official aid agencies in the world. Okay. Knowing that, all this aid. Who's one of the big people behind it? Their agency executive. What do we have here? A little person called Samantha Power. And we're going to go on to Samantha Power here with her Wikipedia page. Samantha Jane Powers, Irish-American journalist, diplomat, government official, currently serving as the administrator of the United States Agency for International Development. She previously served as the 28th U.S. ambassador to the United Nations from 2013 to 2017 under Obama. Power is a member of the Democratic Party. Okay, continuing on. Who is she married to? Another big mover and shaker in the Democratic Party, Cass Sunstein, a former, a constitutional or American legal scholar with studies in constitutional law, administrative law, environmental law, and behavioral economics. I believe he served, he's political party Democrat. Wasn't he one of the advisors of the Obama administration? Yeah, exactly. He was administrator of the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs from 2009 to 2012 under Barack Obama. Now, part of what matters with this is I'm going to get down with his on the section here. It says views, conspiracy theories, and government infiltration. Knowing that this is a big mover and shaker in the Democrat Party, knowing that his wife is not only a former member of the active serving president and whatnot, their cabinet, but then also is rolling up with USAID right now and is the head of USAID. And USAID's funding the BBC and many other organizations. What does Cass Sunstein have to say about conspiracy theories? Though I'm sure it's totally professional, and these views don't, reflect the views of his wife or the Democrat Party, or let's be real, the American government in general. Sunstein co-authored a 2008 paper with Adrian Vermeule titled Conspiracy Theories, dealing with the risks and possible government responses to conspiracy theories resulting from cascades of faulty information within groups that may ultimately lead to violence. In this article, they wrote, the existence of both domestic and foreign conspiracy theories, we suggest, is no trivial matter, posing real risks to the government's anti-terrorism policies, whatever the latter may be, end quote. They go on to propose that, quote, the best response consists in cognitive infiltration of extremist groups, where they suggest, among other tactics, that government agents and their allies might enter chat rooms, online social networks, or even real space groups and attempt to undermine percolating conspiracy theories by raising doubts of their factual premises, casual logic, or implications for political action. They refer several times to groups that promote the view that the U.S. government was responsible or complicit in the attacks of September 11th as extremist groups. The, authors declare that there are 5 hypothetical responses a government can take towards conspiracy theories. Quote, we can readily imagine a series of possible responses. Number 1, government might ban conspiracy theorizing. 2, government might impose some kind of tax, financial or otherwise, on those who disseminate such theories. Government, number 3, might itself engage in counter speech, marshaling arguments to discredit conspiracy theories. Number 4, government might formally hire credible private parties to engage in counter speech. And number 5, government might engage in informal communication with such parties, encouraging them to help. How quaint. However, the authors advocate that, quote, each instrument has a distinctive set of potential effects or costs and benefits, and each will have to will have a place under imaginable conditions. However, our main policy idea is that government should engage in cognitive infiltration of the groups that produce conspiracy theories, which involve a mix of 3, 4, and 5. Sunstein and Vermeule also analyzed the practice of recruiting non-governmental officials. They suggest that government can supply these independent experts with information and perhaps prod them into action from behind the scenes, further warning that too close a connection will be self-defeating if it's exposed. Well, why? What, I thought the government was trustworthy. Why would anyone not trust some conspiracy figures that have the U.S. Intelligence apparatus that have their fingers up their butt? I just have no idea why people wouldn't trust that. Sunstein and Vermeule argue that the practice of enlisting non-government officials, quote, might ensure that credible independent experts offer their rebuttal rather than government officials themselves. Ah, puppets. There is a trade-off between credibility and control, however. The price of credibility is that the government cannot be seen to control the independent experts. This position has been criticized by some commentators who argue that it would violate prohibitions on government propaganda aimed at domestic citizens. Sunstein and Vermeule's proposed infiltrations also have been met sharply by sharply critical scholarly responses. So, Scott, I'll continue on with some news articles here, but let's discuss that. Let's discuss this person, this Cass Sunstein, and his ideas, and the fact that it definitely seems as though those ideas have permeated the intelligence apparatus and the entire government as of late. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but perhaps I'm, mistaken.
I think the good thing is, Seth, we can totally trust the government to have our best interests at heart, and if they're going to be the guardians of what we're allowed to think and see and do, I think it's probably okay because they know what's best for us. And I don't know, maybe we shouldn't question so much, Seth. I mean, when they say conspiracies, maybe we shouldn't question. And wouldn't it be lovely to live in a world where we all agree on the same central narrative,
the same reality that changes all the time, the same narrative that changes constantly and contradicts itself and all that. There was a book I once read, I think it was called a 19 something, I just can't quite put my finger on it, but there was a reality of people that just constantly shifted depending upon whatever the party line was. It's almost
the only good thing about it, though,
groupthink, I believe was the term.
One of the good things about if they do get their way and we all literally aren't allowed to say anything on the street or we get shot or something, at least we can be really sarcastic all the time. I mean, it's a great opportunity to be sarcastic because we can say, "I'm just off to get to my vaccine. It's going to be such fun," and then we give a sarcastic look to people.
Yeah, I totally can get the vibe, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe it's my Americanness and my lack of British humor and wit, but fuck playing the game, man. Fuck playing the game. There's a reason you've gone.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think we have an infiltrator. We have one of those police infiltrators in the chat. Sorry, Seth, I just checked your facts with the media. They say you're wrong. You're a danger to the public. Just off to report your thinking to the police. So, Seth, you better be careful.
There's almost like there's 16 albums worth of rap music of me saying shit that would get me carted off to the fucking loony bin or some detainment center or something in the first place. There's several years of activism of me writing articles and doing news shows. There's fucking 100 Truth Sentinel broadcasts or something like this. I mean, I've been on 40 of them or so plus.
Talking of music.
Yeah.
Talking of music, we will hopefully play one of your tracks in about 5 minutes. We'll have a short break before we come back for the final. In about 5 minutes, we'll have a break. We'll play one of Seth's tracks, and then we'll come back. And if anyone by that time wants to come and say hello to us, make sure you get ready. And after the break, you can come and join us and let us know what's interested you in the news. Yeah, you were talking about these aid organizations, and don't you just think that all these massive aid organizations and all the philanthropy that's going on with the billionaires, it's just all a big cover for money laundering and bribery. It's just all all bribes that are being like all the billions that Biden sent to Ukraine. It's funny, after about 2 months after all these billions are supposed to have gone into Ukraine, I got a message pop on my Facebook from people in Ukraine begging me to donate some money to these soldiers because they don't have enough money to buy socks and stuff like that. I was like, what happened to the billions that Biden sent across? I don't think they get. I don't think they get.
I don't know, Scott. I got used to that sort of shit when it came to people coming out, even to my rural ass community in motherfucking Mineral, Washington, or fucking LB, Washington, begging for money for the Israeli Defense Forces because they just can't afford shoes, guys. They need shoes. So I've been used to foreign assholes trying to pump me for money for the longest fucking time. So I don't know, man. Not a whole lot of sympathy for the Ukrainian people either that are buying into that shit propaganda. Let's be real. That's trash propaganda. And we're going to talk a little bit about Ukraine and what's going on there right now with a city launching a witch hunt for disloyal citizens and people with counter narratives and counter ideas. So you mean any of those Russian speaking peoples and whatnot that might have a little bit of, I don't know, questions about what the fuck has been going on for the last 8 years now? As far as, the Donbass region being shelled by fucking Ukrainian government murdering civilians and stuff. Wouldn't want anybody to think about that. Wouldn't want to have any questions about that, any reservations about what's going on. The fact that foreign governments are literally using the Ukrainian government as a fucking hand puppet to go fight with Russia. It's really cool, man. I'm sure those people will be fine. I'm sure that's not at all what they're doing, is going and hunting people door to door, taking them out. or sending them to
they've
re-education
almost
centers because they wouldn't want to kill people. I mean, come on.
Ukraine was like top of most news stories for a while, but it seems to be kind of slipping out. Maybe people just aren't interested, I think.
It's the cheesy meme of fucking Andy from Toy Story. I don't want to play with you no more. It's literally that. It's the average American, just like most the common man, has an attention span that unless you are constantly repeat over and over again, it's on to the next thing, on to the next deal. I mean, for fuck's sake, you saw how quickly COVID went out and monkeypox came in. It was a surreal experience. Yeah, I see that you brought up that video.
Yeah. Do you want to? I thought we'd have a break now, Seth.
Cool.
Do you want to talk us through this track before I play it? And we have we're going to have like maybe a three or 3.5 minute break, everyone.
Yeah.
And this is a track, Seth. Talk us through.
Called Audio Gold. This is called Audio Gold. It's from a project I started called House Rat. That is, instead of just doing rap music, because before I had a particular problem with the fact that I didn't make my own beats with the rap music. And so thus, without purchasing them, I didn't actually own the rights for anything. So I had to make promotional free music out to people, which I have no problem with. We'll still continue to do so and whatnot. But I will also make my own rap beats in the future and like also put out paid rap music, that, you know, professional stuff that I've done entirely on my own, which gives me full access to my own music. But I'm also starting a project called House Rat, where I can put out house music, EDM, more experimental stuff, jazz, funk, heavy drum and bass, like really quick, like intense techno music kind of sounds, ambient music, just stuff all over the place, right? But for the most part, the big defining feature of it is house music, and specifically the upbeat sort of a vibes. Even with the funk, everything is very rhythm oriented. And so this particular track, because I use samples, but I also use digital instruments to be able to put tracks together. This particular one, the only thing that comes from a loop or a sample is the drums. And I believe there's something else on here, like a little tiny, like it's kind of bongo, but it's something like that, like a little tiny percussion bit here. Everything else is just played by me with digital instruments. And this particular track, Audio Gold, has a very soft sort of ambience and just goes into a nice groove. But I figure it's a chill ambient track to get people introduced. I'm sure everybody by now has noticed the art. The art's absolutely fantastic. It's done by my fiance, Brittany. She's already going to do more art for me in the future, including new House Rat ideas and everything and different stuff. One of the big things with the art and House Rat in general is kind of a cheekiness and just sarcasm, not given two shits, and spoofs and whatnot. So in the future, there might be things like, say, Julius Caesar or something like that, and having like a Roman rat, or just ridiculous fun art, something that gives her the ability to spread her wings as an artist, and then me the ability to, you know, draw in people, because there are people that have no idea who the fuck I am in the first place to want to listen to my music. And so thus some cutesy art stuff that's kind of kitsch and gets people to...
Yeah, it's very nice artwork there. Let's play it, and we'll come back in a few minutes, listen to this, and just to also to let you know that if any of our listeners have any music you want to play in our intervals, we really want to start featuring music. We featured Bob's track a couple of episodes again, which was really
very good.
And so if you've got any stuff or artwork as well, if you've got electronic artwork you want to show off, or anything, even advertising as well, we'll take that. So just send it in, let me know, scottsentinel9@gmail.com. Okay, let's listen to this, and we'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. Okay.
I'm sorry. Isn't there any music?
And we're back.
Nice, Seth. I was actually getting quite relaxed there.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that was helping me de-stress from the day. So let's see what else. I was gonna ask you, Seth. Did you see that story about the Google techie guy who was talking about how the AI had become sentient?
It was like a child and whatnot. There was so much creepiness about that but like not in the. I don't have the like fear of the future technology that a lot of these people throw out, and I feel like a lot of those articles and a lot of that general hype tends to be the fear porn manufacturers that get off on the technology fear big time.
True, but did you read the transcript of the conversation he had with the AI?
Yeah, well, it claimed to have with an AI, and also keep in mind that it's because you have to put faith that these people are even actually doing what they're saying they're doing and having conversations with an actual like an intelligent robot, which I'm like, they have like they're as invested in making this happen as religious.
Do you think that could have been a publicity stunt?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Boston Dynamics is engaged in that exact same sort of shit.
I mean, they said they fired the employee. Do you reckon that was all just a stunt then?
I feel like it can easily be if Google's going to have some sort of new AI algorithm type thing that they want to try and push to people, and they want to make it, ooh, man, this is so cutting edge that it's basically a human. Yeah, it's...
It could be.
Also Lambda. Just the name Lambda.
Yeah, the name
also,
Lambda. It was also the name of the coronavirus variant, wasn't it?
Yep, interesting. I'm coincidences, right? Just so many fucking coincidences. Sorry, I'm need to watch my potty mouth and whatnot. But yeah, let's see. We got Alex Jones with the money stuff. We've covered that for the most part. He got slapped in front of all of us in order to make sure that people just shut the hell up. And I have a feeling that the AI stuff right there is very similar. If it's the sort of stuff that they put out to get people to feel that they have no hope, because the technology has reached a point that it is so advanced that there's nothing you could possibly do in order to fight against these people, in order to resist them. I mean, they have all the money, all the military, all the people, and that's entirely to make you feel small.
What about this angle though, Seth, that there's some people believe that this AI technology, which is supposed to respond all of a sudden, because like maybe 5 years ago, they didn't have the technology that you could have a one-on-one conversation with a bot and it would be 100%. You wouldn't know that it wasn't human, or it was or wasn't human. And all of a sudden, they seem to have said that they've reached the point where you wouldn't be able to tell. If you look at the transcript, if that's genuine, then it looks like they have reached that stage. But some people are claiming that it's not, although they're marketing it as a digital computerized kind of brain, it's actually not. It could be some kind of demonic entity that some of these people believe.
Of course.
The elites
also,
are in
Lamb
contact
is
with.
an entity that people have brought up before when it comes to channeling and whatnot. I can't remember. It's not Manly P. Hall, but it's somebody like that. Aleister Crowley, I'm pretty sure, is the guy whose familiar is called Lamb. So, I mean, I don't know.
What's your thinking about that? Do you believe that there could be entities from other dimensions that are
I'm open-minded to the idea.
What these elites are doing?
I'm open-minded to the idea,
too.
but I feel like a lot of people are way too willing to put all of their eggs in a single basket and make themselves look like an asshole
in a single basket.
Because I'd rather not look like a complete dick and be like, no, man, it's the shape-shifting reptoids, or it's the ancient alien space demons and whatnot that are coming in to get us. I don't know. Yeah, I know the elite.
You can put on your album cover. Insanity. You can now put a commendation from Kieran. He says, "Nice and chilled."
Oh yeah, that's where it's going to be. Thanks, man. It was very fun to work on. Most of my music's not like that, but it's still fun.
Bob has also got a track he wants us to play soon, called Gary the Brainwashed Slave, which sounds good. We'll play that. Anyone else has any stuff, please send it in. And Seth's got some more. And I may even produce a track myself at some point.
Oh, dang.
There is a track I'm working on. I play guitar, so mine's a guitar-based one. It's like a song, so we'll see how it goes anyway. We're all...
it's going to be like Beach Boys 2.0?
Something like that, yeah. Let's see. What else have you come across, Seth?
Oh, I've got a couple interesting ones. We'll go into the Ukraine stuff. You did touch on a little bit Israel and Gaza, and I want to talk about that. But then there's something involving polio that these guys are trying to throw up for the next fear market campaign for disease fear marketing.
I saw something about polio the other day. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it feels like they're trying to bring everything right back into fashion. It's a revolving door strategy. It's you keep the other stuff out of the mainstream long enough, you just bring it right back in.
Doesn't anyone else in the normies, the normal members of the public, don't they suddenly think it's strange that suddenly we're swarming with viruses? I know they're going to blame it on climate change, but seriously, do any of these people
blame it on
think
us.
This is all a bit odd? Huh?
They're going to blame it on us, Scott. It's the anti-vaxxers.
Okay, right.
It's the anti-science crowd. It's because you guys didn't believe and get your sweet, sweet sacred juice shot.
Then it just unleashed them all. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you realize, because again, these are people that are every bit as big of religious ideologues as any hardcore like Christian apocalypticist or Jewish supremacist or Muslim end of days dude you could come up with. There is nobody that's a bigger believer in the cult of authority than the mainstream public. Let's be real. And it doesn't matter which cult of authority it is, because it can be religious, it can be secular, it can be political, it can be whatever they want it to be. It can be anything.
The media in Thailand are blaming monkeypox on foreigners living in Thailand. So I guess I'm responsible for that as well.
Oh, really? Because I would have thought if they're trying to tell everybody that it's mostly a gay thing, that it's all the little boys getting, butt pounded all over the place in Thailand. That would be yes, I know.
Foreigners,
yeah. But you'd think that if that's how, but again, I've seen that in American circles. They're trying to promote it or parrot it as just that it's gay people, it's all the gays and what. So they're trying to play it up as AIDS 2.0 and play up on people's ignorance and whatnot, and to just be like, what them gays do. Yeah, it's
what
stupid.
Some crazy people I heard said though, they reckon this is hilarious, Seth. I mean, it can't be true.
Yeah, obviously.
I heard some crazy people saying that this monkeypox, these monkeypox rashes and stuff are just actually a reactions to the Pfizer jibby jabs.
Whoa, that sounds like such a far-fetched idea,
That's
Scott.
So far-fetched, yeah.
It's
and you know what though? They went a step further.
Or something.
They went a step further and said all these sudden deaths that are occurring now, they reckon that's linked to those jibby jabs too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
like
it.
Those rashes and stuff like that, and bumps and whatnot. It's not like those are considered side effects of the Jabberwock. I mean, come on. No. It's okay. So
what's
could be anything.
Regular?
Could be anything. It was probably from real monkeys. It was probably from people fucking monkeys. I'm sorry.
I don't know if it's the same in the States, but now during football matches, and I mean soccer to you, Seth. During
I know
football matches. In the stands, there always seems to be a medical emergency now. Someone collapses in the stadium, and so the game stops. And this never used to happen.
What are you talking about? That's always happened.
When I say it never used to happen, I mean it always used to happen, because Wikipedia says it always used to happen. Yeah. Sorry, I retract that.
Yeah, I'm glad you're thinking with the group thing now, Scott. It always happened, because I mean it
always happened. Yeah. Sorry. I mean, come on. I misspoke there.
The fact that there's a number of years between you and I, and both of us remember distinctly that until several years ago, this was not something that happened.
And the TV.
Back,
if you look on Truth Sentinel, I actually put the video on there of the TV presenter collapsing during a live political debate. That used to happen almost every day when I was a child.
Athletes
just another one.
Yeah. Athletes go, and people would say, hey, don't be a liar. They didn't die. They just collapsed from a heart attack on the field. That's entirely normal. Yeah.
Well, some of these people aren't dying. Actually, they
Exactly.
really aren't. They're
Yeah,
collapsing,
yeah.
but it doesn't really matter. Nobody used to collapse before. Why is everyone collapsing? You know, actually, this is probably a good
It's probably because they
time
got
to just.
COVID, man. It's probably because
I
they
just
got
want to send
COVID.
out the link in case anyone wants to come and join us. I've sent the link there in the chats. I've sent it to the By the way, we're streaming to Facebook, Truth Sentinel 1 and Truth Sentinel 2 today again. I've put the link there if anyone wants to come and say hello. Switch off your video, come and join us. Let us know what you think. Also, people in the chat, Kieran, Goremonger 2, Honestly the Truth,
Bob Westfall
and Bob.
Moonlight.
Anyone else you want to come and say hello? Just come and join the queue by clicking on that link, or anyone else listening, and we'd love to hear from you. We're probably going to finish in. I always nowadays I keep the show to about maybe 1 hour, 10 minutes, something like that. So we've only got like 5 minutes left.
Well, I'll try and keep it brief.
Kieran says, got to be the Mandela effect. For some reason, I remember when brand new untested vaccines weren't 100% guaranteed to be safe. This Mandela effect, I actually went to a talk on the Mandela effect because I belong to this kind of conspiracy club group that I told you about on the island where I'm staying. It's really good, actually. Someone did a talk on it. I used to think the Mandela effect was kind of a bit silly, but now I think it's probably something that's happening, at least on the level that the government and media are rewriting the past.
Yeah, reality.
They're just toying with us.
They're
toying with people. You know, we've seen it with the jibby jabs. You know, apparently jibby jabs never used to protect you from the actual disease. You always used to get it. Yeah, you always used to get it. My friends have even said it to me. They said, when I say to them, the jibby jabs used to stop us from getting stuff out. No, they never have. It's like rewriting
Scott,
history.
I think there's a certain difference between these two. Like certain instances of Mandela effect is supposed to be talking more about the idea of what would be considered like string theory, or the idea of like sheets of reality that exist one to the other.
There's that too, but
things.
Well, there's different theories.
But then also there's gaslighting. There's just mass gaslighting. I think it's
happening in different ways. Yeah.
Anyway, mass gaslighting isn't quite the Mandela effect, is how most people would describe it, right? Like mass gaslighting and the fact that people eat like the literal Duke that's just spoon fed out to them is just insane to me. That's somehow enough.
But rewriting.
It's always been like this. It never provided protection before. You just get it because
rewriting history and saying that people always, sports people used to collapse in this amount of numbers before. I think it's a kind of Mandela effect. If it catches on and the media say agree and everyone agrees, then you've just rewritten history. But it's not the same as the dimensional stuff.
Yeah, because that's the aspect of Mandela effect that I find most interesting, because it gets into the aspect. And again, we have to do a show about this and talk about it, of something that I did
slipping across
video
dimensions
on. Well, yeah, the idea of the analysis and assessment of the gateway process, that entire government document that I went through. I did a big video on this. If you ever get a chance, it's on my YouTube channel. I would highly recommend, if you want, because again, it's just me reading through piece by piece the entire document. I don't give you my opinion on it, my take, my connection or whatever, just reading what's written. And it's a lot, man. It's a lot. And it ties in exactly with what we're talking about right here, in the fact of reshaping reality and changing reality using one's own will. And the fact that all human beings have this potentiality within them. And it gets into some stuff that if you're a true esoteric minded individual, you probably don't want to miss it. But we're going to get into something a little bit different here. If in fact, I'd say the opposite end of the spectrum, autism spectrum, perhaps. If you've ever felt like, to use a musical term, that there's many a retard out there, then perhaps you're not wrong. Ultra-processed food linked to cognitive mental decline, new study finds. This is out of the Denver News, or the denverchannel.org or .com. Researchers looked at diets in thousands of people say new data is shedding even more light on the damage that ultra-processed foods can do to brain function, as scientists looked at thousands of people to see how ingredients in these foods damaged cognitive abilities. Foods like frozen pizza, hot dogs, French fries, sodas have been linked to obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. Now, a new study points to processed foods and their effect on overall cognitive decline, affecting areas of the brain responsible for executive function and the brain's ability to process data and make critical decisions. Rudy Tanzi, professor of neurology at Harvard Medical School and director of the Genetics and Aging Research Unit at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, was not involved in the study, but told CNN Health, quote, "While in need of further study and replication, the new results are quite compelling and emphasize the critical role for proper nutrition in preserving and promoting brain health and reducing risk for brain diseases as we get older." Study was presented at the 2022 Alzheimer's Association's International Conference and followed more than 10,000 people in Brazil for a decade in some cases. Half of the participants in the study were women who identified as white and were university educated. The average age for study participants was 51. Cognitive testing was given to track their mental abilities while eating a diet that contained, at least in part, processed foods for the participants. Co-author Dr. Claudio Suamoto said, in quote, "In Brazil, ultra-processed foods make up 25 to 30% of total calorie intake for the average person. We have McDonald's, Burger King, eat a lot of chocolate and white bread. It's not very different, unfortunately, from many other Western countries." Another co-author, Natalia Gonçalves, is a researcher at the Department of Pathology in the University of Sao Paulo Medical School. Gonçalves said, quote, "People who consumed more than 20% daily calories from processed food had a 28% faster decline in global cognition and a 25% faster decline in executive function compared to people who ate less than 20% of their daily calories from processed foods." So, if you ever think that the normies are stupid, it's literally in their food. Garbage in, garbage out.
That explains a lot then, because I do think there's a lot of stupid people out there.
Indeed. Any thoughts on that? Because I'll keep it going here if we can, kind of quick, to chop up these last couple stories there into little bite-sized segments.
I do know that my brain doesn't work unless I have like some coffee, a couple of cups of coffee in the morning. If that
neurostimulants, man, every time.
Yeah, I'm serious. It just I literally need that stuff. But they say it's bad for you. But I don't want to give that stuff up. You've got to have your vices. Kieran says, "Wonder how much publicity that story will get." That being stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, from their food. I'm sure McDonald's hasn't done anything to ensure that there's a reason I'm the one reading this to you and you haven't seen this everywhere, and it's relegated to frickin' newsdenverchannel.com of some obscure ass website. But okay.
Did you hear there seems to be a rise in the amount of articles talking about trying to normalize cannibalism as well?
Yeah, I had seen that. I'd also seen that there's a rise in articles trying to normalize relations with minors and whatnot. It's a real bad thing, dude, and it's getting all over the place. And it's like the cannibalism stuff, like the weirdo beastophile people and all this. It's cultural degeneration, man. We're literally at the bottom of the barrel, and the bottom's about to fall out, and we're about to enter true insano territory people don't even know yet. Only way we can change it is to get nasty, but I mean, nobody seems to want to, do what needs to be done, because but I'll be treated as a pariah. People won't like me anymore. They won't want to be my friend. Oh, you mean the morons that are eating literal poison, that are slowly pickling their brains, being led around by the most absolutely terrible people in the universe? You mean they won't want to be your friends anymore? Oh, wow. No,
it'll probably all come to a head at some point.
Yeah, well, we wonder, Scott, why at times when I know you're somebody that looked at the Dead Sea Scrolls and is very interested in old religious texts and whatnot, why there were so many things of ascetics out in the wilderness, regardless of we're talking Native American society, Aboriginal society, we're talking Middle Eastern society, African society, Asian society, European society. Why is there such a tradition there? Because most people are walking meat sacks. Morons, simpletons, the common clay of the New West. if you will. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. Try and figure out you and this mystery of life that we exist in, and what you're going to do after it's over. Because everything else here is
the common mentality that seems to exist in the world at the moment is exasperatingly stupid. I mean, the lawyer that was prosecuting Alex Jones was a fine example of that, you know, and the judge actually, and a lot of people I meet. They all have the same kind of mindset.
Freedom of speech is not freedom from consequences. You never heard that one before.
Yeah, I mean, people say people are branding them all leftist. I don't really like labels, but
collectivists.
There certainly seems to
authoritarians, not leftists.
Yeah, there certainly just seems to be, and this became even more obvious during the pandemic. Just a way of thinking that it's just unbelievable, unbelievably stupid, that it defies logic, and it seems to make up the mass of the population, unfortunately.
Collectivists versus individualists, man. I'm an individualist, and you know how I feel about Alex Jones, and I've told people before, I'll die for that fat bastard's right to free speech. Period.
Absolutely.
Period. And anybody that's not willing to right now can get the hell out, because they don't understand what the American dream is with the free speech stuff, with the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment going on. It's all of this is so important to defend every single piece of it, because every single piece of it matters.
Alex Jones is paid for by the government. I really just don't see that. I don't.
Even if he was
true.
But even if he was, how does you not standing up to say that this is messed up and standing up to try and fight it? How is that good? Is it, oh, well, I just, whatever. I let him just take my free speech and hang me and pop my head off and whatnot. But yeah, whatever. I just still didn't. Again, they came for the socialists, but I didn't speak because I wasn't a socialist. They came for the Jews, but I didn't speak because I wasn't a Jew. They came for the labor workers, but I didn't speak because I wasn't a labor worker. And then they came for me.
I guarantee you there's lots of people celebrating that Alex Jones, including a former member of our Truth Sentinel, will be celebrating that Alex Jones is getting all this hardship. But actually, it makes no logical sense. I mean, he never actually named one of these people of Sandy Hook. I think I was watching Alex Jones quite a lot around that period, and he certainly there was other people out there saying far worse things than he was about the Sandy Hook. And again, at the end of the day, he distanced
himself from it constantly too. That was the other thing, is you're on point with it. He distanced himself from it all the time and was like, no, I don't really quite know. We don't have enough information on that. And that's what
the only thing I would agree with. The only thing I would agree with. I've always really haven't. I really don't like people, the kind of truther who think Sandy Hook, nobody died and everything, which is fine. You can believe that if you want. That's fine. That's not the thing I have the issue with. It's the people who believe it so much, they'll go up to one of the parents and then just start, going, oh, you're an actor. It's like, I would never do that, because you've got to be open-minded to the idea that you're wrong as well. So believe anything you want, say anything you want. In my book, say anything you want, but don't go so far that you're gonna assume 100% that you're right, so that you'll actually go up to someone who potentially did lose a child. You've got to keep an open mind to the fact you may be wrong,
Well, though, granted, I will say I haven't seen a single example of that actually happening, though they've claimed
I used to see lots of people online, on social media. Just there are some stupid truthers out there who just a bit brain dead themselves.
But
you can see some of their comments,
though, of the Sandy Hook parents, alleged people and whatnot, attacking people out in the streets and whatnot, and being like, "How dare you!" Blah, emotional freak fest type stuff. Which, again, if it truly has happened in all this, sad, but your feelings don't violate or negate that other person's freedom of speech, the freedom to believe what they choose to believe, period. Words are not violence.
They're not. Period. Although now they're called microaggressions, aren't they?
Yes, but you and I live in a place called reality, Scott. Not in this contrived universe that we'll give a different name to. We'll call reality B. We'll call it reality B that everyone else is living in. Reality A is where, the jabs, in theory, they said were effective, but now they don't stop prevent you from getting it. We live in reality A, where that change of marketing stuff happened, where the gaslighting is gaslighting, and it's not the new reality. Reality B is the Matrix. Yeah, that's a good term. We'll call
Talking
it the
of
Matrix.
matrices and reality, I really am coming to the conclusion myself that we are in a simulated universe,
Feels like
and
it.
I feel like we are literally plugged in into. We're almost, our brains are virtual reality headsets, and I don't
Yeah,
know
well,
what the implications
spiritually,
are
we're
of it, but
well, spiritually, we're in a physical like repository or chrysalis or prison, however you want to look at it, positive or negative, for a spiritual entity. You are the spiritual entity, the consciousness, the like life that exists.
and
The
this is
meat
either a
suit is,
training
yeah,
ground, a testing ground. It's
or a
something
prison of
like that.
some kind. I mean, if you believe in Hindi mythology and whatnot, then this is supposed
I
to
don't
be
think it's a prison.
like plane number 3 out of like 7 planes. So it's not like the worst hell, but it's pretty low on the list of places to be. And you know what? There are times when it kind of feels like it.
Well,
Where I'm
there are
like,
certainly days when I totally agree that it's a prison and the worst kind of hell. But in fact, I had one of those days recently. I fell off my new motorbike, took all the skin off my leg, lost my toenail. It got completely wrenched off. The whole toenail just completely wrenched off. Just this bloody mass there, you know. And then my cat got taken to the vet the same day. Then I got the bills for the motorbike,
and the cat, I'm sure.
the
Yeah.
cat on the same day, and it's just like, oh my goodness, you know. So you can have bad days when everything seems wrong, but I don't really generally believe that we're in hell at the moment, because you can have the opposite. You can have amazing days.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
it was a prison, it'd be a pretty damn good prison, wouldn't it? Really?
Well, that's why, like I said, to them, it's the 3rd out of 7 tiers of reality, or whatever you want to say, different levels of existence. And so 3 is still not 1 at the bottom there. You know what I'm saying? That if you're going to have hell, that's hell. This is supposed to be several layers above. I don't know. I don't really believe in anybody else's particular preordained, pre-prescribed reality, but I feel like it all shines a little bit of light on what we exist in and can provide interesting perspective. I think you're on point with things feeling like we're living in a matrix, in a contrived reality, like not just from the sense of that these people gaslight us, but the fact that, when we'll talk about this on another episode, that they or another broadcast or whatever, that they control reality and they weave their spells through a lot of what we see. And there are people that, if you were to tell them the very nature of actual reality, they would think that you were absolutely bonkers and needed to be and needed to be locked up in the whack shack somewhere.
This kind of ties in with what the comment Kieran's put here. Too many people care more about Love Island than anything else.
Don't even know what Love Island is.
Love Island's like a like a TV program, like a reality TV show where all these attractive people go
like
off
The Bachelor or some
have sex with each other,
like that.
Yeah.
Lame.
And there just seems to be, I guess some people call them NPCs, non-player characters. Like, there just seems to be a lot of people in the world who never think about what life's about. They just go and do everything they're supposed to do. They watch these reality TV programs, and they never question anything. And I just find it kind of almost bewildering. But in some ways, they're living in a world where they are ignorant to anything, any questions, and they're kind of happy with it. They're actually, ignorance is bliss in a way. And
well, it is. I understand the truism the more time goes on, but bliss is not ecstasy, if that makes sense. Ecstasy or ecstasis is the disconnection and disassociation of body from spirit and whatnot, and being able to have the OBE, the moment of detachment, as you were, nirvana, if you're into Eastern mysticism and philosophy. But to close out here, our last articles, we got that Ukrainian city launches witch hunt for disloyal citizens, where they're going. Just a quick thing here. Southern Ukraine city of Nikolaev resorted to drastic measures this weekend to expose what local authorities call collaborators and separatists, people who harbor pro-Russian sentiments or help Moscow forces in some way. In some way. That's truly undefined and generic and absolutely the least ridiculous crap I've ever heard. Israel. We have, again, that's out of RT. Israel agrees to Gaza truce. If the Palestinian Islamic Jihad accepts the deal, the latest round of fighting that began on Friday will end with a ceasefire. I find it interesting that any random group that these guys can say represent all Palestinian people can just get, like, oh, yep, we're fighting Israel now. But then Israel responds with, like, we're just blowing it all up. Just blow it all up, because eventually the normal government will make the separatist group respond exactly how we want. And it feels insane. It feels insane, and
we're in an insane world. But breaking news, Seth, just come in. Let's just go to the breaking news that I've just seen here. You'll be pleased to hear, Seth, Biden leaves White House for the first time since COVID. Don't you feel safe and secure that now that your future is in his hands?
Biden his time, man. Biden his time.
By the way, I saw lots of these articles as well about lightning striking in Cuba, near the White House as well. What do you think those lightning strikes are?
No idea. Probably something to do with their geoengineering insanity of trying to play God.
Is.
Trying to literally, like, use it as a weapon, use it as an actual tactic. And I know, again, the second they have, like, lock of natural processes like that, the average moron is literally going to look at government like they already look at them like they're Jesus Christ in the flesh, man. You see the average politician. There are people that will literally, like, hump the leg of Donald Trump. Oh, Daddy Trump. There are people that will, like, bend over for Biden. There are people that'll just absolutely for Boris Johnson or whoever. Doesn't matter. Jazz Vinders, what's her face? Jacinda Ardern. Yeah, Jacinda Ardern. Horseface. Like her. All these people. There are people that will absolutely follow him to the gulag and that think that they're, like Christ on the cross himself. And if they have the power to control the weather, to control lightning smiting the unbeliever, of course that's what they want to do, because we're talking about people with a God complex. They make doctors seem like humble people. And I do choose that occupation very, very knowingly there as a reference, considering we dealt with the God complex of these lunatics for the last several years. And our final one to end it out here, we have polio found in sewer samples outside of New York. Let's see what we got here. Come on. Polio found in sewage samples outside New York City suggests it's spreading through the community, health officials say. Wastewater samples taken from 2 different locations in Orange County during June and July tested positive for the virus, according to the New York State Department of Health. Findings come from an unvaccinated adult in Rockland County, contracted polio, suffered paralysis, and had to be hospitalized. And then, of course, for the picture that they have here of polio, oh my God, I wish you could see this, Scott. It's from CNBC, and it is one of the most ridiculous looking piece of crap psychedelic art things, like some art student's freaking senior thesis type paper was done of how do I make something that looks like a disease.
You mean like one of those NASA space pictures?
Yes, absolutely. That level of cheesy bad where you're like, what is this, a screensaver from 2006? The hell is wrong with you guys? And people are like, well, yeah.
We've reached the last 3 minutes of the show, Seth, so I thought we'd slow down, get calm, and send out some positive vibes now. And also maybe start saying goodbye to some of the people in the chat. Goodbye, Kieran. Thanks for coming. Bob. Goremonger 2, honestly the truth. Anyone else who's listening there who's too shy to say anything, it's been great to have your company as always, and also a big hello to all the people who are going to listen later to the recording once
join us sometimes, guys.
Yeah, come and join us. We'd love to hear from you, but it's also good to have you in the chat. Remember the website, www.truthsentinel.co.uk. Email me and just email me to say hello. I get lonely in my email account as well, scottsentinel9@gmail.com. On a positive note from me, again, as I've said before, during these testing times, just don't think that the worst is going to happen, but prepare for what the worst that might happen. but just prepare in your own time and do what you can. That's all you can do, and just relax and have a good time in the meantime. That's all I can say. What about you, Seth?
Work on your perception of self, work on your perception of family, work on forgiving people, forgiving yourself, being able to let go, uh, being able to work on spiritually who you are, and not just that, but your understanding of where you're at, exploring different religious ideas, different cosmologies, different all the way into, again, Gnosticism is something great to look at. For people that want a much more positive and potentially uplifting sort of experience, that video that's on my official was it Seth Davis YouTube channel. If you go there, a few videos back, I did put out that video called Analysis and Process. I believe it's Process and Analysis of the, or Analysis and Assessment of the Gateway Process. That's what it is. And it's a declassified document from, I believe, 1983 that was declassified, or 1986, something like that, declassified about 20 years after the fact. And it's very, very telling as to the world we live in and the kind of reality when Scott's talking about we live in a different world than what most people would understand what we're talking about, what we're getting at. And
I think we live in a completely different world to what most people think we live in. You've got to open your mind to the idea that there could be entities living amongst us. The whole world could be completely different to what you think. It could be we're living in some kind of game show. Who knows? Literally anything almost goes. You shouldn't think that we live in the mainstream narrative of what we live in, where everything's physical and not spiritual.
And all the answers are given to you by
all
the experts.
We have all the answers already. What a joke. No, we don't. We're not even close. So yeah, I think we should finish on that. And
Yep.
Thanks for joining us, Seth, as well. It's been good to
very
catch
good to
up
join
with
you, Scott. It's very good to talk to everybody. For positive notes too, music has been going very good. Anybody that wants to check that out, I will be putting out more music. Check out House, Haus, Rat, Rat, on YouTube. And you will find my YouTube channel for that as well, because I started up a separate YouTube channel. That way it doesn't just muddy everything up on my main channel. And have a good one. Seriously, thank you guys for listening. Stay blessed. Try and grow as a person, always.
Absolutely. And it's goodbye from me too. Take it easy, guys. Thanks again for listening. We enjoy your company. And good night.